Now, the first thing that I'm going to show you is the login email that you're going to be receiving via email. So VerbaCollect, the bookstore is able to use this system called VerbaCollect to contact key people on campus and indicate whether actions need to be taken within classes. So this is what the basic email is going to look like when you receive it. It'll have a message from the bookstore. If they ever need to give you any additional information, it will appear in this location. And then you're also going to receive this personalized link right here. Some of you may have already seen it if you're also listed as a submitter, because we did send out the emails to the professors today. When you click this link, it has this long string of numbers and letters, uppercase, lowercase. This location on the link is unique to you. So anytime you click this link, it will take you directly into the software. No login required, no password, no additional information whatsoever. You click it and you are right there in the system. So that's super easy. Again, it's going to come to you in an email, and what you really need to do is you need to save the email for future reference. If you ever lose the email, totally not a big deal. Just contact the bookstore and let them know that you need access to collect again, and they can send you another email. Keep in mind again that this URL is unique to you, so if you were to pass this on to another person, they would actually be able to log in with your account, which is obviously problematic. You don't want them to be able to do stuff as if they were you, because it would appear as if it were happening under your name. So just emphasis on the fact that you should never forward this. It is your personalized link, and it will take you right into your profile. So with that being said, it's my understanding that we have, yes, absolutely. It's my understanding that we have two different groups of people in this room. We have some professors who we actually call those people submitters in the system. And we also have some departmental people. You guys have a slightly different view within VerbaCollect. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is the professor interface. The professor interface is extremely simple. It walks you through the process of submitting a course and just basically takes you step by step through all the different actions that you need to take. So at this point, you would come to a particular course. You would select which section you are teaching. So for instance, I'm going to go ahead and select this staff course, or I could select Annalie, or I could select Deanne, or I could actually just select all. This is really helpful if this is a lab section, for instance. So if you have all the same lab notebook and you have 50 different sections, you just want to submit all of them, just click select all, and it will pick all of them for you. But I'm not going to do that for today's demonstration. I'm going to show you staff. From here on the right-hand side, I can either choose to go to the next step, indicating that I have some sort of materials that I need to adopt for this particular course. Or at this moment in time, I could just say, well, I don't need a book. I could mark it as no text required. And then that would take you straight to the end of the process where you could actually submit the course. Or at this point, you could also say, well, this was going to be taught, but for whatever reason, maybe I didn't meet my enrollment requirement, and so it's no longer going to be taught. You could mark it as not offered anymore. So that's also another option, just to let the bookstore know, hey, this was going to be taught, but not anymore. So to walk you through the process, we're going to go to next step. And then at this point, I'm going to show you all of the past book information from previous semesters. So it looks like Professor Fuentes used Prebles art forms, or I could go back and see all sorts of different books. Let's see what Gary Westford used. In 2013, he used the same book, actually. So if this were an English class and I had 10 or 15 different books, I wouldn't want to have to click this add button 10 or 15 times. That would be kind of annoying. So I can actually just click reuse all past books from this section. So if you just know, I taught this last semester, I'm teaching it again, I know that I want to use the exact same books, you can just click reuse all. Or you can pick individually, and then the next step is to add new books if you'd like to. At this point, you can add books manually, or you could search for books. So you can say, let's look for Pride and Prejudice and zombies. I always use this example. And part of the reason why I like to look this one up is because it has this great Google preview as well. So this is a cool little graphic novel, and if we have this available within the interface, we will actually show you the preview of that book so you can verify that it's the correct book for you. This looks right. This looks really good, so I could click Add. Or if I wanted to, I could take that ISBN and I could also add it manually here. The really cool part is if you get the ISBN correct and you are looking for this one particular book, it's already in the system, we'll pre-populate the rest of the fields for you. So you get the ISBN correct and you get a cool little prize at the end. We fill out all the fields. And then you just click Add. From there, we would go to the next step. Maybe I have a custom course materials. If I do, I just click Add. If I have any supplies, I would add some supplies. Maybe I need to add some goggles, a lab coat. At this point in the process, I'm able to tell the bookstore some really important information. So I can see on this Prebliss art forms, I can tell them which status. So on this one, it's required, but everything else is optional. And oops, I did not mean to add goggles, so I can remove it at this point. And then the lab course, I'm actually going to say that it is ADA accessible. This lab coat is ADA accessible. And if it's not, then you are definitely able to contact this individual right here. So we got a nice little contact info. From there, I can click Go to Next Step. Looks like estimated enrollment is already pre-populated in this course. If not, if for some reason it didn't contain this info, I could type it in. I'm not going to. I'm not going to change it out because this is a real life course. And at this point, I could add a note. Please make sure to have Prebliss in the bookstore by week 3 because it will be used second. So any information that you need to tell the bookstore, you are able to do that right within this interface. No separate emails required. And then at that point, I would just click Submit Adoption. Really cool within this interface is if you log back in using your hashcode link, which is the link that we referenced at the very beginning within the email, so you would just use this link right here, you can actually see what you submitted. You can see the day that you submitted it, you can see your adoption information, so what you adopted and when, whether it's been approved by the bookstore, all sorts of information. So this is your one-stop shop for communicating with the bookstore. Okay, cool. So, like I said, this is the professor interface. It's relatively simple. The reviewer interface is, I would not say more complicated, but definitely more feature-oriented. You guys can do a lot of stuff, and that's because you're able to see a bunch of classes at once. So the reviewers can be reviewers, quote unquote, again, all that means is that you're a departmental admin, and that you are a person that has access to many different classes within a particular department. You can also have access to different departments. So you don't just have to be the biology person. You could also be the biology and chemistry coordinator. And so then you would just have access to both of those departments, all the classes therein. What that means, though, is that you are able to see all the classes on this dashboard. When you guys log in via your hash code, this is the first thing that you're going to see. You're not actually going to go right into a class. You're actually going to see the dashboard, all classes that are available, and all sections over here on the left. So these things on the left, this is the first aspect of the website that I'm going to show you. And these are what we call quick filters. Anytime you want to see a particular subset of classes, this is where you're going to be able to do that. So if you are a reviewer for multiple departments, you're able to search within those departments. So if I also had, I don't know why, but let's say I had econ as well, I would have had a second department down here, art and econ. So I could toggle between the two. Or, of course, I'm also able to search within a system. So let's say I want to see all classes that have the number 102. That would pull those up right here on the right-hand side. I'm going to clear that search and then go back to my all sections right here. Obviously, all sections, that's everything. Everything that you have access to within the VerbaCollect system. Incomplete sections are sections where we have received absolutely no information whatsoever. So we don't have any information from either you or from the professor. Nothing has been added yet. So these are the classes where if you happen to be the type of departmental admin where you submit on the behalf of professors, this filter will be super useful to you because it will show you all the classes where we have no book information yet. Submitted sections, on the other hand, are classes that a professor has touched, where they have added book information, they have submitted it for review, and if you happen to be the type of department where you actually do review info, then this filter is going to be super helpful for you because this is where you're going to be able to see any classes where the professor has added materials to a course. And then finally, sections without a submitter is very helpful as well because this will help you locate classes where maybe we're not getting book info because we don't have a professor attached yet. If there's no professor email attached to the course, then obviously we can't get any book info from them. So these are the ones where we either need you to add a professor so that we are able to contact them within the system, or to go in and add the book information yourself. So let's go ahead and work within Art 131 just because this is the class that we have available to us. I show that we have a professor right here, but they didn't match for some reason in the system. So if you notice what I did in order to be able to get into the course edit screen was I just clicked the class right there. So it's a link, it's going to take you right into the class, and then at that point you're able to edit the class from there. This particular interface, I'm going to point out a few key pieces of information that you guys need to know as departmental reviewers. Let's start at the top. Super important for you guys because this is going to be really helpful if you ever have to request desk copies for professors, is you can actually click this little print button and that will take you to exactly the same information, but it will actually take you to a printable version of all the info that you have on the course edit screen. It has the Lynn Benton Community College logo, it tells you when it was submitted, the professor info, estimated enrollment, book info, ISBN, title, author, edition, any info that you need to be able to request those desk copy materials, fax it on over to the publishers, and your job is done when it comes to that aspect. So again, that's just this little print button up here. So that's really helpful. Additionally, in the middle of the screen, you guys were able to add some book info as well. So let's say, let's go to Andrew Myers. Doesn't look like he had any book info. Okay, that makes sense. This happens to be a class where there's no text required normally. Let's go back to our other class. And we can check that out there. So if you notice, I'm just going to point this out one more time. To get back to the courses page, obviously you can click the back button, but you are also able at the very top to toggle over here into courses. And that'll take you right back to your home page. So let's just go back to Art 102 since we actually had some history in that class. So you can see here I can click the little 3 that pops it out. I'm going to click Art just like I did with the other one. I'm going to click Art 102, that's a link. And it takes me to basically the same interface. This one just happens to have past books. So if I were using the exact same book information, let's say that I want to use for Annalie Fuentes, all I did was I highlighted her section by clicking on that section right here. Let's pretend like she came into my office. I need to adopt the book information for her. She doesn't, for some reason she's not able to access the interface, or she doesn't want to. Whatever has happened, I need to be able to submit this for her. So at this point, I'm just going to click Add Book to List. I'll select whatever requirements. So let's say this is required. If she needs to add any new books, I'm able to do so also in the middle of the page. I just click Add New Books. I can either search for an ISBN or I can add it manually right here. I think I still have that. Yeah, there we go. So just like the other interface where we pre-populate that info for the professors, we will also do that for you guys. So if you got the ISBN correct, you're going to get this nice little green check mark that says, hey, this is good to go, and we'll also pre-populate all the rest of the information for you, or as much as possible. This stuff is not super required. It's not required for the interface. You don't have to fill it out. If you wanted to, you could. If you know this is edition 5, you could just add a 5 right there. I'm going to add the book. This one happens to be optional, not a required aspect to the class. And then at this point, I'm going to click the big green button that says Review Adoption. So that's this one right here. So at the end of the process, when you're ready to submit the books to the bookstore, you just click Review Adoption. Again, the enrollment is pre-populated, so that's super helpful. If it wasn't, you could input it, but I believe that this install is set up to have all the enrollment pre-populate. I can also add notes. So just like what the professor did before, I can add a note and say, Professor submitted with me via email on 10 or 11-6. What is today? 11-5. And then I would mark it as reviewed. It's going to come up with this little pop-up if you have other sections that are available to review. And it's going to ask you, do you want to apply the books that you just adopted for this one section to all the other incomplete sections? If you do, if you're like, okay, I have 10 sections to go, they all use the same book, I just want to submit for all 10 with the exact same book information, I can click yes. And that's going to merge those two together, review both of them, mark both of them as ready to go to the bookstore, and they'll also have the exact same book info adopted. If, in this case, I think this is what I'm going to do, if it's just a single section, you're not submitting for the other incomplete sections, you would just click no and just say, no, actually this is just for the one single section. I don't want to have to review for the other section. And then it leaves it alone. And it says, okay, well, let's not do anything with the other incomplete section. Let's let this professor, Deanne, submit on her own. I would call her by her last name, but I don't think I can pronounce that. So at this point, Professor Fuentes has submitted her books. It is ready to go to the bookstore. This particular class has also been submitted with some information available here. And it's ready to go. One other item on this page that I would like to point out to you guys while we're here is this staff TBA. If you click that, you can see how I just clicked the name. So if I did it over here, you can see if I click Annalie Fuentes, it pops up this pop-up, which has some really good information on it. It will tell me the section number, the professor name that's associated with that course. If there is a professor email attached to that course, that'll also pop up for you. Anybody else that's associated with the class. If there's a reviewer, it'll tell you that information. And then best of all, you are also able to add professors if there is no professor already attached. So let's see if we can find somebody. Cool. So I searched by Smith. Donna Smith came up. If I would like to add Donna to this particular section, I would just click Add to this section and then click Add Permissions. That's it. I would have just added her to the course, and she would have also received an email indicating that we need her help on this adoption. If you want to do it silently, so let's say, well, I don't want to bother the professor, but I want to give them permission to access this course, just uncheck the box. And then you're able to add them to the course, but it's done silently, quote unquote. Essentially, they were added, but they were not notified of that. They'll just see it the next time that they come to the interface. That is genuinely it. If you need to post a note, you are able to do so from within this interface. So I could post a note, books are adopted this semester. And I would just click post. If I want to ask a question, I'm able to do that as well. This feature is actually an email feature. So if you're in the class and you're like, well, this is kind of weird, I didn't realize that this professor adopted books for this class. They've never done that in the past. I'm wondering if they made a mistake. Did you mean to adopt books? And you can ask the professor. You could even CC yourself if you'd like, and then just click ask. And then you just emailed the professor with your question to just say, hey, I have a question about this course, looks a little funky, just want to let you know, is this accurate?